Welcome to Victory Monday, everybody. I got my guy, Jason Aponte, here in the middle. Jose Sanchez, of course, of Sports Illustrated All 49ers, to his right or left, whatever we want to call it. Somewhere horizontal, just like the 49ers offense. Somewhere horizontal.
That's a good way to put it.
So, obviously, let's go ahead and get into it. The 49ers won. Felt like a while. Fan base needed this. The team needed this. Everybody needed this. The NFL needed this. 49ers get back to 500 at 3-3 after a 24-16 victory over the Rams. So let's go ahead and get into it. I'll let Jason start it. Who's your player of the game?
For me, man, it's gonna either be it's hard, right? It's really hard. So I always usually give my love to the offense, man, but Fred Warner was incredible yesterday. Dre Greenlaw was incredible, and so was Jason Verratt, man. What's up, Anthony? I have a hard time trying to figure out which of who of those three, so I'll just pick one, and I'll say that it's going to be Fred Warner. I tweeted out last night, if you have to ask a question of who made the tackle, just say Fred Warner at this point. Like, it doesn't matter where or what side or anything like that. The guy is shot out of a cannon. He's allowing the least amount. His passer rating is the lowest on any attempt towards him. He's the quarterback of this defense. He's the heart and soul of this defense right now. And he's just playing at a level that, like, side to side, any part, sideline to sideline right now, he's just everywhere, man. And where would this team be without him, honestly, at this point? So yeah, I'll go Fred Warner here.
All pro Fred. I think I'm going to go with Daniel Brunskill because of how he held his own and actually, slowed down or practically he didn't practically shut down because they were moving Aaron Donald all around, but he actually held his own against Aaron Donald compared to like what we've been seeing all season, compared to what you saw his first debut at right guard. It was just completely ugly for him all around, although you can't really blame him because he did spend like 90% of the time in training camp as center. So this is pretty much was his preseason. And that's why I just love that offensive play calling by Kyle Shanahan. What do we say, Leo? Go horizontal, like how you started it off. Go horizontal. Build these guys confidence. Stop letting them go heads and give them some type of edge. And especially against Aaron Donald, you needed any sort of edge, any sort of cheat, anything that was going to get him your way. And credit to Brunskill. I know like the coaching helped him for sure, but still, considering what we were seeing, it looked like he was going to get blown up. It looked like the whole interior was going to get destroyed by Aaron Donald, but he didn't register a single pressure, if at all. I mean, it was just a great output from that whole offensive line, but Brunskill gets my nod.
Got it. That was actually my guy, so I'm going to switch it up. I didn't think none of you guys were taking Brunskill. I thought we were all going the hot positions, the athletic guys, but I love it. Linebacker and interior offensive line with Fred Warner and Brunskill. So we'd be misspoken if we didn't mention it. Jason Verratt. That guy has just been balling. And I threw it out yesterday. We could talk about it later. Who do you extend? Do you extend the younger player in Verratt, the younger corner, seems to have his athleticism back, or do you extend a 32-year-old Sherman? We'll get into that later, but Verratt balled out. Glad to see him doing what he's doing because I live here in San Diego currently, and I was living here when the Chargers still were here. And these Charger fans love Verratt, even though there's not much Charger fans nowadays because they all just kind of said whatever once they went to LA. But they loved Verratt. And they still send me stuff like, oh, man, look at Verratt's balling. Like, this is the guy that we used to love. So to see him doing what he's doing, it's exciting.
For sure, man. I mean, it's crazy to think that, and I have to eat crow, right? Because all camp, I'm like, what are we doing with this? Like, why are we still trying to make this a thing? And it's right. Like, where would this team be right now without Jason Verratt? I don't even really think this is much of a hot take, but people will take it this way. Jason Verratt right now is the best cornerback on this team.
Yeah.
Because absolutely. He does things that Richard Sherman can't do. He can actually give them flexibility to play man. And he's resembling that 2016. That interception, what's most impressive about it is he really covered up a loss on the other side with Ward. Like, if he doesn't peel off his man and get to that ball, that's a touchdown. Yeah. And it not, everybody was like, oh, it gets them off the 2. No, that was a touchdown, honestly, too, also as well. But my goodness, man, like, where would this team be without him at this point right now? And it's so weird for us to say right now, Jason Verratt is our best cornerback, hands down, man. Like I don't even see it. Like it's not even really close at this point.
Absolutely,
you know what, Jason?
I agree.
Jason, I was on point with you too about why everyone was hyping up Verrett on point, because I was there at training camp. He had good training camp, sure, but the way everyone was touting him as, wow, he looked great out there. It's like, the 49ers paying you to say that because he's not looking great out there. Like Steve Weish went there. We went to one training camp, one. And all of a sudden he was raving and ramping about, she's been looking great at training camp. Like, Steve, you were there at one training camp. I've been there for at least like 8 of them. What are you talking about? So he was just getting a little too much. He started proving it more and more now they got the chances. And then me personally, I was still pumping the brakes. And personally, I always have loved Verrett. I've always said from the get-go that if he's healthy and can actually get it together, he's the 49ers' best, if not second best cornerback at least. And look, now he's putting together. He's healthy. And I just wanted to see him get tested like he did last night. Because obviously you're not going to get tested when you're rolling out opposite of you, Dante Johnson and Brian Allen. So I was like, let's pump the brakes. He's playing good. I'm not going to say elite because, let's wait to get tested. And he got some tests. And not only that, he stepped up by, like you said, by covering up a deficiency in the coverage. And that was just cornerback porn to me because I love cornerback play. That's always been my position since college. And I just stood up. I was like, oh, my God. I texted my old DB coach. I'm like, you see that? He was like, that's how you play the game. This guy is back. This dude is nasty. And so it was just nice. And now, forget what you're saying about, Leo, your question's so premature. Like, who do you sign? How about this? Who gets the start when Richard Sherman gets back? Who do you bench?
We could get into that later.
That's hard. So
I've been getting this question all day on Twitter.
I think now you're gonna have to transition to that second question, Leo, because that's a lot we're gonna get into for that one.
Okay, let me pull it up then. We'll go ahead and just jump right into this one. With the cornerback position, they literally in 1 week, they went from rags to riches. Let me say that again. Rags to riches. Everybody was so upset. Even the media was questioning the 49ers. What were they doing at the cornerback position? Oh my God, you're seeing like a 5th different man start out there. And now you look at the game last night. Those cornerbacks were dominant. Yeah, Emmanuel Mosley gave up a touchdown, but it was also a great play by Josh Reynolds. Not too many receivers go up there that aggressive to pull that catch in. But, man, he also had a couple pass breakups, and he looked great. Even Jamal Taylor had a pass breakup, and he shut down he played his zone fantastic. And I know that they use more zone in third downs. The previous weeks, they were using man. But I saw Jamal Taylor drop into zone quite often when they had him in coverage. And Goff had nowhere to go. That's how fantastic the zone coverage, even with the linebackers. So they went from rags to riches. Jamar Taylor, he's becoming a force. Blitz. He almost had Goff slipped, and Goff ran it up for a first down. But he's becoming a force as a blitzer, and I bring that up because that's what K1 is as a slot corner. He's a force when he blitzes. So it's fantastic to see these cornerbacks. And I say rags to riches because there's also Richard Sherman coming back into the mix as well. Eventually, we expect at some point Richard Sherman's going to be in the mix. So I'll let you go ahead and K1 as well. I'll let you take that over, Jose. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's not shocking that why they went rags to riches. They had Emmanuel Mosley as an upgrade over Brian Allen, which is like almost going from like someone off the street to a Hall of Fame player, damn near. I mean, it was no shocker. I mean, that's why last week when me and you talked about the overreaction to Robert Saleh, how is he supposed to call a game when over here Kyle's telling him, "Hey, I'm going to start Brian Allen"? What do you think Saleh's like reaction in his head was? Like, you serious? You want me to put this guy instead of Akello or something like that? Oh, Akello's hurt. Yeah. So all that little roster politics BS. So I mean. Of course, it was going to look good. I kind of expected it that unless Emmanuel Mosley wasn't playing, I don't think the 49ers were going to win this game because that allowed them so much flexibility in the secondary. That's why they looked so good all of a sudden. Right. The pass rush, it wasn't really so much there. But, I mean, at least now you were able to blanket a little bit much better. I don't think I saw Saleh call as much blitzes as he's had in weeks prior because now, look, he finally has a strong secondary. All he needed – and they actually do trust Jamar Taylor. At least Saleh does, because Jamar Taylor actually got a substantial amount of reps in training camp and slot corner. So I know they feel comfortable with him. So that's all they needed. So that's why, especially when we're talking about here, hey, Richard Sherman's coming back. Just imagine what they're going to do. They're probably going to kick Emmanuel inside, or I don't know how they're going to do with that. But it shouldn't really be too much surprise because they lost top 3, top 4 of their corners. And look, all of a sudden it comes together. You had a great offensive wide receiver duo with Robert Woods and Cooper Kupp. and you guys just blanketed them. Kupp didn't get his first catch until the fourth quarter, which is amazing. So absolute stunning job. Verrett, Mosley all around, and it just came together finally.
Yeah, man, it's just crazy to think, right? Like you said, last week we're like, oh my God, look who's starting, and now we're getting questions about, well, what happens, if Sherman comes back? I don't want to sound negative. I'm nervous as the days go by with Sherman. Setback. When I hear calf, I think Achilles, and I think of what happened with KD, right? So that's why, like right now, what Verrett and Mosley allow them is the luxury at this point to allow Sherman to, if he needs a few more weeks to get going, to do that, right? But if Sherman comes back, now you're talking about Emmanuel Mosley, as Jose alluded to, possibly kicking inside, or being the third cornerback on this team, which is the depth that anybody would kill for at this point, especially when you're talking about Sherman and Barrett, right? So it's just so crazy how things change, right? And then I wasn't one of those people that wanted to pile on Brian Allen, right? Because that's not fair, right? The guy was somebody who played special teams his entire time, never took really any reps as a cornerback, and then you throw him out there, and I was telling people all week, like Devontae Parker and Preston Williams, those aren't slouches. Like Preston Williams went undrafted, Devontae Parker is a first-round pick. But those guys are good receivers, right? And there was going to be a guy who was going to test them down the field. Like Ryan Fitzpatrick just played Where's Waldo? Like, where is he? Now throw it that way, right? But now you're talking about having this sort of flexibility where if you want, you can kick Mosley inside, or you can just have him as your third cornerback. Like, come on. Now, here's the age-old question, right? Coverage or pass rush. At this point, and we can see that the pass rush is going to be nowhere near what it was last year, clearly, because when you lose Bosa and you lose Ford, that's what's going to happen. But coverage covers up the deficiencies in pass rush if you're, and that's what we saw a lot of, because people weren't getting home. They were doing enough to make Jared Goff think a little bit more about his throws, but the coverage for the most part was good. And even Mosley's touchdown, he just did the Akello thing. He didn't track the ball the whole way. He didn't turn his head at the right time. That's it. That's it. But other than that, it's like a clean night for almost all of them. And it's just like the flexibility that being able to know that you're going to have coverage out there allows you to bring blitzes from different ways and stuff like that. Like, it's just a big boost. And to have it happen with this receiving core of Kupp and Woods is just great news going forward, because, we know what's coming down the line, like DK and Lockett and Devontae Adams and those guys. So, the secondary is going to have to pick it up if the pass rush isn't gonna just hold it down the way that it was last year.
And that was Mosley's first game back too, so I don't think we can't 100% fault him. Like, all right, he could have played it. He definitely looked like once he did that, I was like, oh, he freaked out. That's just him just being away from the game. He just freaked out. So that's something you don't really see from him. And I fully expect him to just bounce back from that one.
For sure.
Yeah, man, if this team did have Bosa and Ford, we all agree Verrett is an upgrade over Mosley, right?
Yeah. I mean, right now, yeah.
So imagine having like Sherman and Verrett as your outside corners with that pass rush. Oh, if the 49ers had a healthy Verrett last season, they win the Super Bowl. No doubt. But let's not get in that too much. I think this comment is fair, is where Richard Sherman may not play for a while because he is in a contract year. He is older, and it's a calf injury. But as Grant always alludes to, the calf is connected to the Achilles. So with Sherman, who knows? He may not play for a while. So maybe we don't have to worry too much about, oh my God, who's going to end up starting once Sherman comes back, because it's fair that we may not see him for the rest of the season.
That's kind of I hate to be pessimistic, but I've kind of put Sherman and Ford out of my mind. Almost. Like, this team has to move forward, and I think they have to make plans as if neither of those guys are coming back. I am way more confident to say that we are not going to see D Ford at all this year.
Yeah.
Way more confident.
I haven't heard anything that's cement. I've just heard some unverified rumors. But
Ford. You haven't heard Tyler say anything.
But I haven't heard anything cement. So since I don't know if he's gonna play at all this year,
or if he wants to play,
or if he wants. That's part of the unverified things from what I'm hearing, is if he even wants to play this year. So since we're talking about D Ford, let's go ahead and get into it. Does this team need a trade or maybe pick up via free agency a pass rush specialist, because the defense was fantastic last night, but it was fantastic because of the coverage, because of Verratt and Emmanuel Mosley and Warner, Greenlaw. They were fantastic in their zones, and also when they got to man-on-man situations. I did see a few times where Goff was just standing in the pocket waiting for someone to be open. Last year, that doesn't happen with this 49ers team. This team, injuries has made that a reality. So do they need to go get someone? And if they do, who should they go get, or be a free agency or a trade? Who do you think they should get, Jason?
I mean, I floated it out there. Package Pettis and a fifth, sixth for Ryan Kerrigan and call it a day, man. I mean, at this point, after you watch what happened yesterday with the Washington football team, I mean, anything can happen in the NFC East, but Ryan Kerrigan's an older guy. You get him over here, you get him as a rental, you get him in here, he gets juiced up to play again because he's in a different situation. I think it would be a shot in the arm to the defense. The only issue I have with it is if, the Redskins want to take Pettis and that low pick for him, but that's the one that I want to float out there. I would love to see Ryan Kerrigan in a Niners uniform, but again, this team has to be in position to actually make the playoffs or be it doesn't make sense to do this. Like if the 49ers lose this game last night, then I just take that off the table at this point, right? Mm-hmm. But if they win this game, next week is the Patriots, they win that game, then it has to become more and more of a reality because now he can really, really impact your team in games that you're really going to need him because right after the Patriots, we get the Packers.
Right.
Don't tell me that Ryan Kerrigan won't help on a Thursday night against the Packers.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Who wrote that? Didn't Bill Barnwell mention that about Pettis there? He's nuts. There's no way. And Pettis has zero trade value. If some team actually comes up to if the 49ers actually say, hey, we have a pick, and Dante Pettis for whoever you have, they're gonna be like, Pettis, you just offended us. Give us your first now just for even mentioning him. Like, are you serious? Plus there's gonna be some teams that want to downplay him because they have to take it for what it is. They know Pettis has that potential and obviously needs to change the scenery, but come on, what is he showing? He has no trade value. He's just like Solomon Thomas and everything, and all these other players. But I see Jason's right. If they win next week, then it's definitely going to have to be a really heavily talked discussion because they did it last year. Where what was the deficient position of need? It was wide receiver, right? Versus now this year, it's going to be pass rush because outside of Eric Armstead and Kerry Hyder Jr., they're not really, especially on the edge, they're not really getting any push. So unless they're really hopeful forwards coming back, that's something that definitely has to be discussed. Now, do I see them actually pulling the trigger on it? I kind of don't. As much as I think they need it, as much as I think I know they want it, I just don't know who's actually out there that's going to be available. I know like it's been thrown out Kerrigan, but is Washington really going to do that? Do they even care for that? Will they try to hamstrung the 49ers? It all kind of depends on what the value's there. Because obviously they know, like, well, we're just not going to do a rental because we know Bosa is for next year or whatever. Ford's still technically on here. We still have Blair on the man. All these players, even though I know Week 10's like the best situation. And then that's why over the weekend or Friday, that's when I brought up like, hey, David Irving's available. Go get it. Oh, there you go. See, go right there. But the reason why they won't get him is because you need to have an injury prerequisite for the 49ers to consider you. And because and I know people said, well, he's had a few injuries. It's like, yeah, he's had an ankle sprain. He's had a concussion. Like, so what? That's not really like you compared him to what Colin
That's
Alexander, D4, Richard Sherman, so on and so forth, Jimmy Garoppolo, all these players. That's not the 49 prerequisite injury. I'm talking about severe multiple times. Like, hey, it's not if you're gonna get injured, but when. You can't really say that about Irving. All you gotta say about him is if he's gonna smoke weed, but when. But you would think that he's gonna get it together.
Well, I mean,
with the suspensions,
the CBA allows it.
Exactly. The CBA allows it. So who cares now?
I don't care.
Who cares? It's all about it. Let him burn. Let him burn because he probably might deserve it after that. Might be what's gonna keep him from feeling all those pains. So if anything, his injury likelihood goes down. So it kind of sucks that I saw he's going to that the Raiders were working him out because I think the Raiders are going to pull the trigger on him today or tomorrow because of that Rod Marinelli connection. So why not David Irving? Why not? He's shown good value and he's not going to be someone that is going to be a starter. Is going to be the one that.
Yo, Jordan's tripping.
that can carry. So hey, at this point, I 100% don't know like where they can really look.
Hobby?
To discuss.
It's Hobby. I don't know if his picture's showing at all. What's up?
I think it's better his Patrick doesn't show up.
I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna pitch it right now. Kerrigan. I in the beginning of the season and during the offseason, before even one snap was played, I was preaching for Clay Matthews. I got so much backlash for it. It was ridiculous. I was stop being so sensitive.
So stupid.
This guy had he had a higher pressure rate. He had a higher pressure rate than D Ford last year. And you saw the changeover of the defense when D Ford was on the field. So why would I get personal about the Jim Harbaugh days and Clay Matthews? I could care less about that. And with Kerrigan, this is where I'm going to preach it. It's why would they take Dante Pettis? Well, one, coaches always think he's not in my system. He's Shanahan. He doesn't fit Shanahan's system because they're a running team. This guy is a wide receiver. That's how they look at it. That's really it is. And with Pettis, he's probably the second best receiver on that team. Outside of McLaurin, who they got?
McLaurin.
Sorry. A bunch of Tom Comptons at wide receiver, all right? So he's probably wide receiver 2 on that team. He's at worst wide receiver 3.
Yeah.
So if a team is willing to offer you a 5th round pick and Dante Pettis, why do you not take it? You're not going to re-sign Ryan Kerrigan. They're not. They're a rebuilding franchise.
Leo, it's just more than talent. All like you and plenty of other people keep bringing up. Oh, he does have the potential, but he doesn't have the work.
I'm not saying he has the potential, but he's still the second best wide receiver that would be on that Redskins roster.
Is he going to apply himself? Just because you know it and think it doesn't mean he's going to apply himself. This guy is like, that's why he doesn't get run, because they know he's lazy. He's like on the same boat as D4. Does this guy even care? Well, like there's plenty of players that go out there you don't want to care. That's what's been said. I know that's what's been said about his work ethic. About does he care? Because even when he shows it, it's like, well, he still doesn't. Right when the going gets tough, the dude just shuts down. That's why he got all sensitive. Okay, that's when he gets. That's when he gets all sensitive. That was going to be my point. That was going to be my point. That's when he gets sensitive. When Kyle Shanahan, he admitted it when Kyle Shanahan was critiquing me. Oh, I shut down. I mean, that's not what he said, but that's pretty much what he said.
Yeah. Right. So I'll say this: as far as losing the assets.
5th round is like a hit or miss.
Ryan Kerrigan, you're giving around a 5th round pick. That's what I would expect.
49ers draft great 5th round players.
Mm-hmm. Well, guess what?
That's not typical.
In the 2022 draft, because I would expect Kerrigan to be a desired free agent to get a decent amount of money. They would get, at worst, a 5th round comp pick in the 22 draft. Yeah. So you're essentially just putting behind that draft pick by a couple slots and by 1 year. That's all it is. So you can still realistically not give up too much for Kerrigan. You're just putting it back a couple slots and delay that pick 1 year for Ryan Kerrigan for the half of the year. Why not? Who knows? These guys this offseason, who's probably going to see the most money is going to be left tackles, pass rushers. I wouldn't expect a wide receiver to get too high of an average per year salary. So Kerrigan could even bring in a 4th round comp. So I don't see why you don't make this trade. I think last night showed.
Kyle won't make the trade.
Well,
Kyle hates Washington, and he's petty like that.
Well, we got Trent Williams. I mean,
Javi did it.
I'll sweeten the deal. I will drive and pick up Dante Pettis and drive him all the way to DC. I'll sweeten the deal. You guys don't need to just Venmo me some gas money, and I'll bring him right over. I got
snacks.
Promise.
Question on that: are you going to drive west and then drive back east?
For sure. I don't got nothing to do, man. I can do all the live shows.
I got nothing to do.
I got you.
You're not allergic to cats, at least, right?
Oh, man, I am. The only thing that I'm going to be disappointed is if we ship him off and we don't get the Cone Zone and Catman podcast that we were promised. So that's the only thing that I would be hurt about.
So since we're talking about a little bit of the offense, what do you expect as far as the play calling moving forward? Do we expect to see exactly what we did last night, or do you see that as let's just get these guys a little bit of confidence and then we're going to switch it back up, what Kyle ultimately wants to do?
It's both. It's both, honestly. Like, I think that it was get this in confidence, but it was also very team specific, right? Like, Kyle didn't want to mess around with having him drop back and have him take any shots with Aaron Donald back there. So he made it all quick passes, which also is just like a struggling shooter, right? You're shooting. You finally see the ball go through the hole after a layup, and all of a sudden, oh yeah, I can play again, you know? And that's so it was very opponent specific to neutralize Aaron Donald, but to also get Jimmy going. And I think what I learned last night from the offense, and it's going to have to be a week-to-week specific game plan, right? Because next week is Stephon Gilmore. You're not just going to throw at Stephon Gilmore, right? You're almost going to leave that alone and almost toss somebody over to him and kind of just let it be, right? But what I learned is that the engine behind this offense is Raheem Mostert. And without him, this offense becomes drastically different in the way that they call plays, in the way that they execute, and in the way that this team wants to operate. So you saw it. They were going to give most of the ball until he threw up. They did not care. And this was like, earn your money, bro. Like, you know, like you wanted to be traded. We gave you the money. Now we're going to lean on you. You know, unfortunately, he got banged up in the game, and we got to figure out what's going to happen with him going forward. But you could see the difference between the offenses when he left. And that's really, really, really what it is. And also, give a ton of credit to Jimmy Garoppolo, man. That touchdown to George Kittle was, man, free rusher in his face. And that looked like Jimmy from 2017, 2019, where he just tossed it and he turns his back and he's going to get ready to get hit, man. I have to give him credit on that. Once he got those horizontal throws going, then he started to feel the vertical throws, and everything's based off the run and play action, guys. I'm not breaking any new ground by telling you that. That's pretty obvious, I feel like, at this point.
Yeah, Jason, that's exactly what I was thinking. Like it's both just to both get ease in everyone at the same time, and also just a proponent of who you're facing, because you know they needed those layups, Garoppolo and the offensive line, especially against Aaron Donald, because they had both been atrocious thus far this season, and this was arguably their best game offensively, especially that first drive. Like, where was that? You know, like I can't stop preaching enough when Lilo talked about like where was the horizontal play? Where's the linear? Throw a little swing route. You call them yak boys, but you're pretty much like kind of capping them when you aren't utilizing that. And at the same time, you're also giving Garoppolo like, all right, those few easy throws are out of my system. Now let's get this boy cracking. So you definitely saw that going. But I want to focus on what Jason said. Hey, when Mostert's not in there, he's not. They lose their engine, and that's 100% sure. And that's why I was always hammering the table, like, dude, give him a raise. When he's crying for it, give him that goddamn raise. You're paying Tevin Coleman all this money, but you're not going to let the guy who optimizes your offense, who takes you to another level, who was the reason. And I got an argument with someone last week that he is the guy that got you to the Super Bowl. It wasn't Jimmy. It was Raheem Mostert. Without Mostert getting discovered, you probably are in that situation, because this guy is a baller. He's an absolute. This guy could be all pro level if he ever was going to be healthy, which hopefully, knock on wood, he's not out for at least more than one game, or maybe he's not even out there this game. But you could see the whole difference. As long as they can keep doing this, you just be creative, Kyle. Get the ball in your best player's hands. All right, forget it. Like, I know it's like don't use them as, you know, as gadget players like Javi says, but hey, the point is just get them in their hands, man. No matter how you can, because look, even when it looks like it's not the right play call, it still works out. You're still keeping the defense on their toes for who to expect. Like, oh, is it going to Kittle? Oh, is it going to Mostert? Is it going to McKinnon? Is it going to freaking, you know, so Ayuk? Who's it going to? So that's the great part. Keep everyone on your toes, be balanced offense, and then complementary football on the back end, because when you're doing that, you're keeping control of possession for an extensive period of time, and that makes that defense more efficient. And that's why you were seeing the corners in the secondary stay in coverage longer, because they were more fresh. So kudos to them. Keep the complementary football going together like how we saw last season.
Yeah, I think they should absolutely keep this play style moving forward. It's not fun, because you do want to see Brandon Ayuk run a fade route and take it to the house, or have George Kittle hit a post corner, take it to the house. Like, yeah, that's cool, but these guys could also take a dig route to the house, as we saw with George Kittle yesterday. My big thing was let these guys eat. I don't care how they do it. These guys are known for yards after the catch, so let's put the ball in their hands and see what they could do with it. And Kyle listened to me. So I appreciate that, Kyle. Thank you for listening to me. That's my best Grant impression, I guess. But as far as like saying, Jimmy's air yards was only this amount, who cares? Who cares? Because guess what? Debo was still picking up first downs. Ayuk was still picking up first downs. George Kittle had, a few first downs himself. It's like, so who cares? I love it. And run the ball. As you were saying, Jose, keep that defense fresh. because they're without a pass rush that we're known for them to have that's left on the IR. Just let everybody stay fresh, because when you don't have guys rushing to the quarterback 70 times a game and they're only having to do it 50 times a game, guess what? You're going to get a more productive 50 plays than you would being gassed out for 70 plays. So it is smart. Manage the clock. And someone mentioned in here about Hasty. Use Hasty more. I'm glad he got 9 carries yesterday for 37 yards. That's a better clip than what we've seen out of McKinnon.
He looks better than McKinnon. Just say it. Just say it.
He looks better than McKinnon between the tackles. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. He's still fresh. He's still green, whatever you want to call it. This is his second game that he got carries in the league. So yeah, he's going to be fresh and green.
He gets downhill though.
Yeah. That's absolutely. Absolutely. So get McKinnon. That was probably the best thing about yesterday. As when you're looking at the silver lining of Mostert coming out of that game early, is that Hasty got an opportunity to touch the ball 9 times, and he showed that he should be RB2 behind Mostert, because that kid can play. He can play. And what I also love about Mostert, even though he was out on the sideline, he had his helmet on, and you could tell he wanted to be in there.
He did.
That's the guys I want as my team captains. That's the guys I want on my team. He wasn't like, I've got an ankle injury, I'm going to sit on this bench, I'm going to take off my shoulder pads. No, he had his whole uniform on. So what that tells me is whether he doesn't come back against the Patriots or if he does, he's going to fight for every little healing power that he can to get out on that field Sunday. So that excites me. It shows me that this team has fight.
I think what I was excited too about Mostert, I'm sorry, Jose, I didn't mean to cut you off. No. What I was excited about with Mostert was right, like we all love the home run plays, right? I really enjoyed how he was inviting the contact, dragging guys with him. Like Mostert ran hard yesterday.
That stiff arm.
Yeah, and oh my God, you guys want to see a dead body? I mean, I know it don't count, but it counts. I don't care. It counts. It counts because that man knows it counts. Whoever that was, God bless him. But Mostert ran hard yesterday, and he really, really, really showed that he can be relied on to not only hit the home runs, but you're asking him to get tough yards. He carried 4 Rams almost to a first down. Like, dude, Mostert is a baller, man. And the thing with Hasty, right? McKinnon's the best receiving back on his team. We can all agree on that.
Yeah.
Probably the best in pass pro as well, too. I also don't want to gloss over that as well. McKinnon's very good in pass pro.
Yeah.
But Hasty does not dance, gets downhill, and hits the holes. That's what Mostert does. McKinnon looks a little bit like he's tiptoeing, and he just doesn't have the explosion for obvious reasons. His knees have gone through hell. But Hasty looks like the breeder type that at least can also take things to the house that way. And I think going forward, I think what Hasty did last night was enough to cement himself as the second best running back on his team, and the guy who I'll make a bold prediction right now. It's probably going to get refuted whenever this happens. But if Mostert doesn't play, Hasty's going to start. I think he's going to be the guy they go to first.
I don't think they're going to start him. Kyle Shanahan is going to be like, oh, we got to give McKinnon a start just because. But he should start. He is the second best running back.
All right, so then let me change it. He'll see the most carries.
There you go.
Yeah, probably, yeah. But yeah, dude, I was saying this last night. I'm going to say it when we're done here on my 5 takeaways. Jermichael Hasty is running back 2, and he is Mostert 2.0 to me, because how the vision, the feel for the holes, the patience, how he bobs and weaves, and he does have that threat. And seeing him in that game just reminded me exactly what you saw from training camp. Him and Darian Daniels were like my favorite unsung heroes that no one knew about, and then they're just exploding. So when Cohen gets healthy, keep him on the practice squad, because no one's going to pick him up because they got to take on that contract. Keep Hasty in there. All right. The guy is fresh. He's not showing he's injury prone, obviously small sample size, but roll him out there. Because if you shift him and Mostert back and forth and you sprinkle in McKinnon once in a while, then you're really going to control the ball. You are going to curb stomp defenses and suffocate them. And then, wow, that's actually a kind of a good one as well. That's a pretty good one. Yeah. That's a good one right there, Javi. But yeah, I'm so glad to see him finally get touches. I'm so glad everyone finally got to see what I was blessed to see back in August. And now it's just perfect right there. Just run the clock. We talked about this before, Leo, last week. But also circling back to Garoppolo, this is, I know how you said people want to criticize him, his air yards. It's like, yeah, obviously that's not ideal what you want to see, I guess, from a quarterback, but he's playing the system to how he is. Maybe Kyle Shanahan played it a little bit more softer just to get his quarterbacks more confidence, but we talked about it last week. He's an in-rhythm passer. He's not someone who's just going to suddenly walk fresh off the bus and just light you up. He's someone that you need to get him going. You need to get him on a streak, and that's the perfect game you want him to have. Right, because you're about to go on the road against arguably one of the best defensive minds of Bill Belichick. Thank God it's not a 10 a.m. game, so at least they don't have to fight through that. But this is the game you needed him to have because just for his confidence booster, just so at least now he's slinging it. And once again, you have Bill Belichick, who's not just a genius, but he knows Garoppolo. All right, he knows them. He's going to be inside of his mind. He knows he's probably going to flood the middle of the field and force Garoppolo to throw outside the numbers and deep. That's all I'm immediately going to expect and just sell out for the win.
Go straight into it, Jose, since you're on it right now. If the 49ers have a halftime lead against the Patriots, which I believe they should because Cam Newton doesn't look all too great to put up.
I'm not afraid of Cam Newton beating us with his arm. I am not.
Exactly. So if the 49ers are up, is there any type of concern with second half Jimmy, or is that just how things turned out yesterday where he had a great game overall? You look at the overall numbers, you look at what he did in the first half, and you're like, his accuracy was on point. Like I tweeted out, that touchdown to Kittle does not happen if Jimmy Garoppolo places that ball anywhere else. That was exactly where Kyle Shanahan said, hey, put that ball exactly right there, and George Kittle's going to do something with it. So with second half Jimmy, he actually went 6 of 17, 53 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions, grateful, and 44.49 quarterback rating. Is that something that there should be a concern on when you're looking at a second half lead? Because the 49ers had a fourth quarter lead against the Cardinals, and then there was an opportunity to win that game. It didn't happen. And then there was an opportunity for Rams to take this game. That didn't happen, but Jimmy Garoppolo didn't keep the game away from them necessarily.
Right. No, it's definitely, and I didn't totally see 100% like, the offense is not clicking because of Garoppolo. There's some throws I'm sure that could have been corrected, but also Kyle wasn't really calling. I felt like he didn't really adjust as much the way like Salah did, especially in the second half, the way he was, the way that he knows how to really punk Sean McVay. I feel like Kyle was just still calling the same thing. Like, hey, let's just keep this offense going because it was working in the first half. And then it just alludes to what I was just talking about. He's an in-rhythm passer. So it wasn't really too surprising to see him like, there was a break in play, all of a sudden come out of the half, and look, he's not the same player. He's not the same player anymore. But I think against the Patriots in that instance, I think you should have a little concern just because it is the Patriots. And that's gonna be the strength because, like you guys said, Cam with his arm, especially after last week, shouldn't be threatening, especially after how we saw the secondary finally coming together, finally healthy. And you would like to think that, actually, the Broncos secondary doesn't get enough credit. They got Bryce Callahan and all those other players out there who can actually, play. So, I mean, it will be like another game where, the 49ers are in a position to kind of replicate what the Broncos did against Cam and just force him to throw. It's the one thing that is going to be scary, though, is just mobility. But I digress at that point. But, yeah, there's definitely going to be some concern because it is the Patriots. It's on the road. It's because it's also Jimmy. So, but a little bit, Kyle has to figure out another way to, sometimes we got to just shirk blame to like, hey, Jimmy could have had some better throws and stepped up better. But I mean, come on, Kyle, you acknowledged at the beginning at the entire first half that you need to get those easy throws for Jimmy and all this and that, but you're not going to like make a little tinker here and there. And that's why I talk about him needing to make adjustments that Salah does that he doesn't. So it's definitely some concern, but let's just wait to see going forward how much it really is going to really be something concrete about.
So did Jimmy miss throws? Yes. Did Jimmy have drops? Yes. George Kittle, I'm looking at you, my friend.
George Kittle, KB,
I'm looking at both you guys. But those would have kept drives going as well too. So while the stats do paint the picture, there are some things that that are not in the stat box, including those things like that George Kittle throw was exactly. I'm tired of people now. Now look, the Jimmy stuff is getting out of hand now. If anybody is willing to tell me that was a bad throw by Jimmy Garoppolo, drop your location because I want to come fight. Because that throw was that's exactly where that throw needed to be. It needed to be away from the defender, exactly where it was. And George will tell you, if they would have asked George after the game, he would have said, I flat out dropped that. Kendrick Bourne, I'm surprised I'm not blocked this morning because I just said that's a drop, bro. That's just a drop. Yeah. That is a drop. They called the perfect play. All Kendrick had to do was catch it and just fall forward, and it's a first down that keeps the drive going. But did Jimmy miss throws? For sure. The Y leak happens again. Kyle standing there by himself. Jimmy just panicked a little and overthrew it. And then I can't wait to show it on the All-22, but you have to see Kyle Shanahan's like he sees the ball go up and he goes like this. Like what? Like I called it. It was perfect. Everything was there, and he overthrew him. So Kyle was frustrated with that throw. Look, Jimmy's not all the way right from the ankle. You can still see him lifting it. He looked much better than he did last week, clearly. But it's a give and take, right? So, and then again, when Mostert leaves the game, now you have to completely change the way that you were going because he tried it. He was like, okay, let's get McKinnon in there. And then he was like, all right, McKinnon's not doing it. As soon as Hasty started ripping off runs, then things started to open up a little bit more. So it's all predicated on that. And as far as the Patriots go, yes, Bill Belichick knows Jimmy Garoppolo. Just don't ask him about it. He was just asked in his press conference about it, and he said, I really don't want to talk about that at all because it's been 3 years already. Like, he's already pissed already at this point because he knows what's about to be happening. And what the 49ers have to do this week is Cam Newton's not going to kill us with his arm, okay?
No.
I'm not afraid of Julian Edelman. N'Keal Harry has 0 catches yesterday. James White is a running back. The only thing that we have to worry about is whether the 49ers have figured out how to stop a running quarterback. And that's all we were like. If we're going to put it to that, then the Patriots really are going to have to make this a slugfest. I really don't see a world where the Patriots are going to go up and down the field on us. Like Josh McDaniels has not kept the same offense from last year. He's leaned it into Cam because he realizes he can't run those same things. So I'll be fine with Julian Edelman catching everything over the middle and just being like, just get up and run up and tackle. But there's no one like vertically that the 49ers need to be worried about. So the Jimmy Garoppolo thing, like, look, it's a give or take. Yes, he missed throws. Yes, he was missing Mostert. They were leading, but he's in rhythm. He looks a lot better. I think this is a huge, huge confidence builder as you just posted up for him. So, again, Kyle's going to have to dial up a game plan that's specific to the Patriots. Not what he's normally doing, not what he did last week, something similar to what he can do to exploit the Patriots' deficiencies because you're not going to throw with Stephon Gilmore. Just let him be over there. Like, give him Kendrick Bourne. Let's send Bourne his way and just say, have fun with Bourne, and then you can still scheme Ayuk and Samuel open.
Yeah, I was going to say, as far as it being a concern, Jose touches on it. He's an in-rhythm player, and he's only played 2 second halves all season, even though that was week 6. I don't think it should be a concern at this point because I saw 3 drops in the second half yesterday that are going to alter the numbers. One from Debo, one from Kendrick Bourne, one from George Kittle, and then you could even add a 4th in there on that deep shot to Ayuk, which was a passer interference. But that's instead of going down as a passer interference, that's going to go down as an incompletion. So you could take those 4 off, and now that below 50% completion percentage is closer to 60 now. That quarterback rating goes higher. So there was some. I'm not trying to make excuses. I'm just saying it is what it is. Like, he had some obstacles that makes the second half numbers look ugly. As well as, yes, I'm not going to ignore the pass to Juice. That should have been completed. And I don't expect Jimmy to make an air sail that once again. I think that had to do with his ankle. He's obviously at that point with a big lead being a little gingerly than usual about it. And I think that dictated if the 49ers were down in that position, best believe he would have been driving off that ankle. But he was just trying to play it gingerly at that point. I haven't asked him about it, but that is just my belief looking at his footwork from the 4th quarter to the 1st quarter. Yeah. And do you want to touch on anything more?
No, I mean, I think you guys said it, man. And it's just like, again, it's Monday, right? It's been a horrendous 2 weeks on 49ers Twitter. Horrendous. Yeah. Like, let's argue about the negatives tomorrow.
Exactly. Thank you.
Let's enjoy the win. Let's party. Let's watch 2 games, which are one's going to start in a half hour. Let's just chill out today. The film will be out. The film will be out tonight. We'll point all that stuff out. We'll point out the things. No game is perfect, but guys, when you wake up in the morning after a win and when nobody thought we were going to win, and you guys are out here still arguing about all that stuff, one day, give it 1 day, please. 1 day, 1 day. Good God, Tony Dungy's the only person who believed in us all week. That's it. Listen to the coach, man. Just calm down. Let's just enjoy the win. Let's pile on all the positives, and we'll deal with the negatives in a little while because there's some things that need to be cleaned up for sure.
We believed as well. We're not nobodies. We believed. I predicted it. You predicted it. I predicted it. Even Javi said it himself right here.
Yeah. So. I was skeptical when I called it though, only because they were desperate, and I feel like there was no way in hell they could have like drop 3 in a row back against the wall, they know this is the game they had to ball out. There's like pull no punches. And you saw in their playbook all of a sudden, because Kyle Shanahan went back to his drawer and said, let me grab my 2019 playbook and not my 2020 where it has like 80% passes.
Yeah. The other thing is too is I mean, the reason that I was skeptical is when you see that line, like I said, from the outside looking in, right?
Especially the offensive line, yeah.
Right. Like no, I mean like the spread, the money spread. So I turned into straight conspiracy theory.
Started dropping.
When I saw it dropping and it got to 3.5, I'm like, wait a minute. You know, like from the outside looking in, the casual fan looks at the 49ers get 43 dropped on their head by Miami. And the Rams have won 4 games as dominant as they have, coming in with the sack leader. It's almost like, why is it only 3.5? So I'm like, okay, something's come.
That's a 6-point swing, but then it dropped to like what 2.5 or 2 at one point.
It was getting closer, so all the money started coming in on the Rams, and I'm like, and then like I had like somebody said that like who's really sharp with it. They're like the sharp money is on the Niners right now at this point. So like that kind of was like, and then as we get closer to the game and you start to think about it a little more, you're like, you know what? There is a world where this is going to happen for that same reason. The 49ers had to play like a desperate team, and they did. Their season was on the line last night. The Rams, not so much. The Rams needed to get this win to pile on another division win, but they're what? They're 0-2 in the division now?
That's their first loss in the
division. First loss. Okay, so they have
their first division game.
Okay, their first division game. Okay,
all they've played is NFC East teams. That was a bright side of why I thought they could have won.
And the Bills,
and they lost to the Bills. Right,
lost to the Bills.
So I mean, that was a game that the 49ers had to have. Like if they don't have that game, then we're seeing a completely different tune today. And they are good against bad teams. The entire NFC East is bad. 4 wins is going to get it done.
Let's talk about it. Because it flashed on my TV yesterday. Are Fred Warner and Drake Greenlaw the best linebacker duo in the league?
They're up there. They're up there. But I gotta say, man, and look,
I know it's early.
It is, but I don't want anybody to kill me either here, guys. I'm just trying to be objective. I watched that Bucs game, and I have to say, man, White and Levante David, that's God, man. One. Yeah, that's a really, really powerful tandem. Their defense is incredible. The thing that the Bucs have done is that they already had a front seven that was intimidating. Now they just added to the secondary with Carlton Davis and Sean Murphy-Bunting. That just makes that defense so much harder to beat. Like last night, watching the Packers game, I thought I was watching the rerun of the 2 times that the Packers played the 49ers. They stopped, and they completely got punked.
Yeah,
it's still that same team from last year. But Fred Warner and Greenlaw are up there. But if I had to give you a guess right now, I'm going to go White and Levante David, man. Like Levante David is the most underappreciated linebacker probably in this league and has been disrespected for quite a few years.
Yeah, I think up there, sure, but it's 100% Tampa, like Jason said. I think I'm just going to say like it's 100% the best duo on the 49ers.
For sure.
Keep Quan off nickel, please, because that one where Greenlaw stops the touchdown in the flat, Quan's letting that happen.
Yeah.
And he just shot it out like a bullet and just laid the dude out. I don't remember who the runner was, but all I know is he just went out there. I think it was Henderson. Yeah, it was Henderson, I believe. He straight up laid him out.
That's the biggest play of the game, Jose. I alluded to that. I haven't stopped thinking about that sequence because it goes like this. Greenlaw gets caught up in the traffic, still shoots his way out of a cannon and not only not allow a yard, knock Henderson back. Next play, Cup drops a ball that 9 out of 10 times he catches, and that's a touchdown. Beautifully put, and he just couldn't get his hands on it. Mosley was there, but better pass, better throw, better catch. Usually that's a touchdown. And then the next play is the interception. Drake Greenlaw sets all of those things off because Henderson was on his way for a touchdown. I agree with you 100%. That won't get the love that it deserves because of the Verratt interception.
Yep, and I just saw that. I was thinking, like, damn, you just put Quan in there. It's not a touchdown.
Nope.
It's not a touchdown. How many times have we seen him get beat to the flat hella times this season and even last season? And it's, like, so crazy because ever since Quan tore his pec, the guy is just, like, he was never, like, that much of a sure tackler, but he was always there. He was always there for the make the play. How many times also did we see him last season in coverage have the ball hit his hands and he just dropped it? Versus you put Greenlaw in all those situations, all of a sudden he makes a tackle. All of a sudden, he makes the pick. He makes a clear clutch pass breakup that didn't even look like he shouldn't even been there. It's always methodical. You just know what it's going to happen. Greenlaw is a better player than Quan Alexander, 100%. Quan's great in base defense, which allows them to play a little bit more base if they want to put some more trickery in. But Greenlaw by a mile. And if these two can actually still continue, then they are going to be a top 3, top 5 linebacker duo.
What's weird about them two is, my bad, Leo, and this is the last point I'll make. What's weird about him and Quan is this. What one excels at, the other is deficient in. So Quan isn't as good stopping the run and short tackling, and Greenlaw is. But we saw Greenlaw get caught up with Higbee in coverage, and Higbee smoked him. So that's the weird dichotomy between the both of them. What one is good at, the other struggles with. So it's weird. It really is. Greenlaw's younger though, and Greenlaw's, and you can kind of teach that. The thing that Quan does better is he's just a better coverage linebacker, and it's just they're gonna have a decision to make when it comes to money and what they value more at this point, man. It's tough. I don't want to be the guy that has to make this decision.
Yeah. So what I'm gonna say with Greenlaw, I think he can learn that because watching his tape at Arkansas, he was like a safety playing linebacker, and he looked a little skinnier than he does now with the 49ers. So he has that ability to be a ball hawk. And quite frankly, Quan Alexander hasn't really been the great coverage one-on-one linebacker this season either. Like, you can't even get
ever since he tore it. Since he tore his pec, he just hasn't been able to get back to that top 10 pass coverage linebacker that he was. And at least Greenlaw, he gets beat, but he still has some plays where it's like, okay, there's hope there, there's potential. Coach him up.
Right. And I wanted to bring up this question because I wanted to highlight how fantastic it is to have this duo out on the field side by side rather than having to take Greenlaw off all the time when you go into nickel, which they use majority of the time. That's the reason behind this, because I watched them play and to me, they are a top 3 in the NFL. So if they're top 3 in the NFL, why is that not become your permanent linebacking core? As far as
because they gave Alexander that money. They gave Alexander that money, so they have to prove that they're right by putting him in there. So it's always just a safe face with this coaching staff, Kyle Shanahan, and it's not just them. Some other coaches do it too in the league.
So with that, it's Alexander is known for missing his tackles in open field. Well, great. I'm going to put him at the slam and limit that to half of the field rather than expecting him to try to be a free range linebacker like Fred Warner is currently. Let me just put him on half of the field so that he's able to zone in a little more on his opportunities, because I don't think he played very well in the playoffs last year when he was at the Sam, but I think that was also because he was pretty banged up, and it made it very difficult to tackle when he had, I believe it was his biceps.
Yeah, so he was still recovering.
How hard is it to tackle a guy when you have your biceps torn? Like,
how hard is it doing anything when your biceps torn? What the hell? This fool was literally just like a robot, just like this. He couldn't really move it.
Exactly. So his playoffs missed tackles, I'm not going to get on him for that because he had the heart to at least get on the field, and I'm not sure that Al-Shaair would have been better than Quan. So I'm okay with Quan playing through the injury, and I think that's where he's best suited on this defense. Demario Davis is fantastic in New Orleans, but he doesn't have a running mate like Tampa Bay does. So I would probably put 49ers second.
Yeah. And then the other thing is that I hate to be one of those guys that is trying to talk up something that can't be quantified or anything like that, but there's something about what Quan brings as far as a little bit more juice to the defense. Like, it seems like the defense rallies around him, and I don't even know if that's a thing. But it's just something that I notice is that, they feed off his energy and the way that he is, man. Like, all that hot boy stuff and everything. So, but is that worth his money?
Let me say this, though. Have you really seen that energy this season?
Not this year.
I haven't.
But it's been through the whole team, though. And
I think it's Fred Warner now.
Yeah, I haven't seen that same juice. So if he's not bringing that same that he did last season, I think he knows that his days are a little numbered, maybe a little stressed. He's not as free, happy-go-lucky. Like, his mind may be a little clogged up to where he's not that same energy guy that he was last year, and it's really disappointing because that spark was fantastic. It made me want to go play, and I just haven't seen that spark from him this year. So if you're not seeing that spark, you have to question why not. If we have a best 2 linebacker tandem in the NFL with Greenlaw and Warner, why are we going to break it up over money?
For sure.
Why? I wouldn't.
It's a great point.
All right, guys. So we're going to end it on this. One final thing here is, let me go ahead and take this off. Sorry, Hobby. It's blocking my other thing. Actually, I did have it up. That's on me. We need to be Cowboy fans tonight, guys. We need to do it. We need to do it. We got to be Cowboy fans. Okay, you don't have to be Cowboy fans, but root for the Cowboys to win this damn game because
Can they both lose?
They could tie, but that doesn't help the
No.
Niners.
I need them.
Tie doesn't help.
I need both of them double L's. They need to one. They're like, no, you don't win and you don't win. You both lose and leave.
All right. So, Jose, forward him the NFL guidelines and then read word for word. Read word for word. See if you can find it in there.
Give me time and I'll come up with something.
I just checked. It says you're full of
But yeah, it is what it is. Cardinals lose. Guess what? They're down to 3-3, and they just lost a conference game as well. So that always bodes well if they end up tied head-to-head and tied in the division. The next thing that's going to come up is the conference. And the 49ers already dropped one to the Eagles. So now they need the Cardinals to drop one to the Cowboys. It helps it out. It's a win-win. And just if the Cowboys could run away with that division, maybe that opens up Washington's trade market and gives the Niners Ryan Kerrigan.
See? It's a domino effect. Yeah, I mean, if
Washington stays one game out, they may be like, why are we going to trade this guy? We could probably sneak the division here.
That's why Ron Rivera went for 2 yesterday. He's like, yeah, we're gonna grab this division by the throat. It's like, bro, come on, man. It's like at this point, if you don't realize that Kyle Allen's a bridge to whoever it is that you're going to next, now that you've already moved off of Dwayne Haskins, it's like you're kind of lying to your players and your organization. But you do want to change the way that things are being done over there, and I do give him a lot of respect for that because he's not gonna be there to tank purposely, right? But yeah, man, it hurts to say, but we do have to root for the Cowboys tonight, and let's hope that Andy Dalton doesn't vomit all over himself like he does on primetime, in primetime games. Like, are you guys forgetting that Andy Dalton's the starter on a Monday night game? Like, this isn't
why I benched Amari Cooper.
Yeah, that's why you benched him, right? Yeah, I'm facing a guy who has CeeDee Lamb tonight, and I'm like, you know what? I think I'm all right. I think I got my lead, and I'm good. George Kittle hooked me up a little bit, so yeah. But I mean, we just gotta hope that Andy Dalton doesn't just lay a primetime egg like he's known to do. And this game's probably gonna be a shootout. 2 bad defenses, so I mean, I could definitely see the Cowboys walking away with this one. So yeah, I guess go Cowboys. Oh, my stomach hurts.
Perfect. Hey, well, I appreciate you guys commenting. I appreciate you guys tuning in. For Leo, Jason, Jose, appreciate you guys.
Thank you, guys.